Hello, I'm Cynthia Ng. You are tuning in to AWANI Review. Joining me today is Cassandra Go, Deputy Managing Director of Silverlake Access. Silverlake Access, a Malaysian pharma company, provides banking software and solutions to over 40% of the top 20 largest banks in Southeast Asia. Cass is here to talk about the recent announcement by Bank Negara Malaysia on digital bank licenses, whereby 5 consortiums were awarded the much-awaited digital banking license. So thank you so much, Cassandra, for doing this. Let's start with the announcement by Bank Negara. There was a slight delay in announcing the winners. Any surprises in the announcement? Is that what you or the market had anticipated?
I think, on who the regulators picked, I'm sure they came up with a good list of 5 names. I mean, a lot of big name players are on the list. So in that sense, no surprise there. I'm actually very excited that they finally announced the list and see where Malaysia digital banking can go.
All right. Now, before we go further into the discussion, I would just like to quickly point out Silverlake's interest in this. As a banking solutions provider, can you just walk us through how is your company supporting Malaysia's digital banking drive? And is Silverlake working with some of the applicants for the license?
In terms of where we stand to participate in this digital banking drive, I mean, we are a core provider for a lot of the existing banks. And I think with this digital banking announcement and the digital push in general across all the industries, as a software solutions provider for the banks, it's been a great opportunity for us to work closely with our partners to see how we can help them, also move closer to what offerings a digital bank can provide. For me, one of the more exciting things as a consumer for all the new incoming digital banks is just the new vibrantness of financial offerings for consumers like us.
Okay.
And as a solutions provider, it's about helping our existing customers be able to provide just a similar user experience as a digital bank can provide.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a lot of question about just how much disruption or how much changes can digital banks bring to the table. If you take a closer look at the 5 digital banks that that had received the license, you have quite an interesting or wide array of participants. Of course, you have the fintech, Axiata's Boost with RHB Bank, the traditional bank, and then you have GXS, which is a Grab Singtel consortium partnering with the Kwok brothers, Robert Kwok Group, and then you have e-commerce platform C, which is parent company of Shopee and YTL, Aeon, and also KF Investment Bank. I want to pick on 2 players here, which is Grab Singtel as well as C, because these 2 successful applicants actually also received the digital banking license in Singapore, which was awarded in December 2022. And I know that Silverlake has a very wide presence in Singapore as well. Can you share with us, what have they been up to? If it's any indication of what they might bring to the table in Malaysia?
I mean, to be honest, the Singapore digital banks are supposed to go live this year, and a lot of them have been quite quiet. Like Greenland, if I've got the name correct, it hasn't made much noise. C has bought out an Indonesian bank, but what they're going to offer is, and along with Grab, what they're actually going to offer, to be honest, they haven't made it publicly known yet. But if you look wider beyond the shores of ASEAN, there are already very established digital banks out there. So there's basically a new bank from Brazil, Revolut, Fidor out of Germany, and N26. So we can look towards them to see what the future of digital banking looks like.
And
right? It's about
what other changes did you see in these places, Brazil and in some parts of Europe? What are the changes that they bring to the financial institution space?
I would say that this applies to digital bank versus your stereotypical conventional bank. Right, a lot of these new digital bank players, the onboarding is quick, almost instantaneous. You just use your phone, sign up, and all of a sudden you have a brand new bank account, and they say, here's your digital credit card, go spend it, go spend your MasterCard right now. And there's a very comprehensive user interface that shows you where your spending goes to and what you spend a lot of your money on. Also, here are financial products that are linked to your one interface bank account. And they've also tied up with a lot of other fintechs to provide additional solutions on top of just retail banking. I think that's one of the cornerstones of the potential for digital banking. It's just the bank itself is nothing but it's more or less a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the collaborative partnerships with other fintechs, other startups that they bring to the platform that enhance your user experience.
Okay.
So that's something that I look forward to in the future for our local digital banks. It should be a little bit more than just what you would find out of Grab, right? Out of the Grab app. Hopefully it's something that Grab provides along with another Singapore startup, for example, that helps you do your, say maybe Grab can partner with Stashaway. These are completely out of this pull from the sky examples, right? To provide both a wealth management program and also a retail banking program. And that's the opportunity that digital banking has.
All right. And then you think you hit the nail on the head, because when you talk about services, digital banking services, what is it that we can't access at this point in time? I mean, I go to my mobile app of a traditional bank, I get seamless connectivity, seamless interface, and I can do most of my banking activities on my mobile phone. And then you have companies like Grab, you have Boost already offering similar services. So I think for users, what they want to know is, what can digital banks do that traditional banks won't do? Because we are looking at traditional banks and how they have been investing heavily to digitalize their services and to also in some way move towards becoming a more digital bank.
To be honest, if you ask me my frank opinion, I think that traditional banks actually have a stronger moat than most people think. You're right. If you look at your Maybank MAE app, it's very convenient. Everything that you want to be able to access and do a QR pay, check your bank statement, it's all right there in the app. So in a sense, as a consumer, maybe you will not see any immediate differences. I think what is different between a digital bank and a traditional bank, and traditional banks are more than ready today to make that step, is the back-end processes within a bank. As you're a digital bank, you're starting from scratch. You
Right.
can immediately be lightweight. You can immediately have, the people in place who think agile, collaboration. You've shed a lot. You don't even have to shed a lot of the existing processes that exist. And maybe within a conventional bank, one of the hardest things to do for transformation is a mindset shift. If you work within MNC, typically it's not hard to put in place a digital service. It's just technology. But whether or not your culture fully embraces that agileness, the collaborativeness, bringing in outside partners to launch a new product for your consumers in 3 months. So that's the culture shift that digital banks don't really have to go through.
Should conventional banks be worried about competition from these new players?
Again, I can't speak on their behalf because I'm coming from the tech side, but from what I feel and what I see is the answer is no. Competition is good. It shows you what you can bring to the table for your customers. I mean, in this day and age with technology partners like Silverlake, you're not put out of the race. You can just as easily bring in an agile service on top of your old core to deliver your solutions to your customers, whether it's better CRM or whatnot. Banks are today sitting on a treasure trove of data, and people love to say data is oil, right? If you're a digital bank, you're starting from zero and you still have to gain all these customers on board. But here's your old school conventional bank sitting on a pile of data, and all you need is to work with a collaborative tech partner to unlock that, and you can start offering, customized services to your consumers. So the opportunity, I think, is great if you're sitting there as an established bank. You are trusted by the consumers, and there is nothing really stopping you from bringing on board other outside partners to, jointly provide services.
And I think that's why we're seeing the consortiums. You have a combination of conventional banks and more conventional companies partnering with technology firms. Another interesting thing that I noted was, of course, the participation of telco companies in this. And I understand, of course, telcos, you have to reach to all our to mobile phones. And in ASEAN alone, we have like 600 plus million people. That how do you see the role of telcos in this space to drive up the acceptance of digital banks?
A lot of us are entering or looking at digital banking licenses to maybe transform our own digital businesses. So if you are a telco, you're sitting on a very stable pipe. You're a little bit like a commodity, like a railroad. You're charging fees on top of that stable pipe. And now is the time to find a way to really monetize that pipe. That's why if I were telco, I'd be very interested in the digital license. And also, you're right, they have the last mile. Every consumer, more or less, has a phone in their hands, and you already have the final touch point to a customer using that. From that access point, being able to just augment the services that you give them. And I think it's, as you mentioned earlier, going through the list of digital banking licensees, finance as a stack is getting decoupled. And what I mean by that is there's no more banking vertical, right? No one's really a bank anymore. Even banks are trying to be tech companies like DBS, or retail players are trying to become banks. What gets me excited is that finance is opening up.
Right.
There's embedded finance and embedded insurance, and all these multidisciplinary verticals are working together to kind of provide better services for the consumer.
I'm very excited that just talking to you, is thinking about how the banking space or the retail tech space would look like in 10 years with the emergence of these players. Is there a country that we can look to see what's happening and how things might change for us in Malaysia and Singapore in the coming years?
Well, to me, Europe has really made a big headway. And I think a lot of it is not that far from what we have already in Malaysia. But for example, if you are in Europe, and there's a huge disclaimer on top of my head saying that I haven't been there since the start of the pandemic, but so I hear, based on the banks that are already there. You take your Apple phone, you walk into a store, Face ID, you don't even have to pull out any credit cards, walk into a Starbucks, tap your phone there, and you've made a payment, and here's your Starbucks. In the US, for example, you can walk into any 7-Eleven and say, I would like to withdraw some money. You don't have to go find an ATM. Here's me buying my milk and eggs, and also I need $50 in cash. And then you walk out. I mean, part of the friction that we have in Malaysia today is some of these conveniences are still not really available.
Right.
If you walk into 7-Eleven and you're trying to top up your Touch and Go card, it might be the case that they say, I only want cash. And so then you have to go somewhere else to find an ATM, right? So it's about reducing all these friction points for us to be able to, purchase seamlessly, invest a little bit more seamlessly.
I want to talk about financial inclusion because there's so much discussion about how people are saying digital banks will improve financial inclusion, and just how so. I understand, of course, it may open up access to some banking services that were not available before, but now with the mobile phone and how banks are actually just going straight to consumer via their phone, what kind of financial inclusion that we might see from awarding 5 new licenses to this digital bank consortiums?
Well, I hope that a lot of these new digital bank consortiums are not picking off the same customers that already are well established within banks, but also reaching out to those who can only, do finance through, like you said, through their mobile phones. There are a lot of smaller mom and pop shops out there whose only POS system might be cash. And if you are Grab or if you are Boost, there's a potential there to help them on kind of online their offline sales and make them more able to access, say, lending or different customers.
Okay. Well, just a quick note about, okay, so the licenses have been awarded, but recipients are saying that they would need about 2 years to plan, strategize how exactly they want to use the license. What can we expect in terms of product offering on this next 2 years, back-end wise? What are they going to do? And why does it take 2 years to start operations?
Honestly speaking, seeing as that I'm not running a digital bank right now, I cannot speak with certainty why it takes 2 years to get it off the ground. But there are a lot of things to get in place, regulatory, compliance-wise, technology-wise. And I eagerly await, this year, the Singapore digital bank licensees are supposed to start operating. So let's wait and see what they're going to bring to the table.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining the announcement by Bank Negara and what we can expect. I want to turn the discussion to talk about your company, Silverlake Access. Your company is very much in the business of financial institution, providing software, technological solutions, and just wanted to find out about the existing gaps that you're seeing in the banking space, technology-wise, and what can we expect in the coming years in terms of innovation and what can be better improved to serve customers?
I think a lot of the banks have been, their fire has been lit because of the 2 years of the pandemic. I think over the course, maybe we thought we had more time to kind of digitalize our customer service and user experience, but over the 2 years, we've really seen what it means to just only interact with your customers online, and not just for banks. I think retailers, insurance companies, they all felt the shift, right? Before you could build a relationship through a branch, and now all you can do is really build a relationship through your app or your online banking. And because of that shift, I think banks nowadays are really investing in trying to modernize their core, expose the data that's already within their, not expose it to customers, but expose them to use them and provide more customized services to their endpoint consumers, right? So these are the kind of investments that we've seen them make more and more. Also broadening their opportunities by working with cloud providers. To me, you don't have to be bounded by the limitations of your backend servers right now. Now your ocean is unlimited with all the cloud providers out there.
Would you say, based on your assessment working with banks, have they been successful to incorporate their legacy systems into their digital transformation journey? Because that, I believe, is one of the key challenge facing more conventional banks.
That is a risky heart surgery that banks have to make a decision about, and I do not envy their position. I'd say based on studies, about 40% of bank modernization, bank core replacement projects have failed. One of the key points of success is to really find, in my opinion, is to find a strong strategic partner like Silverlake, who has the expertise, who has a history of stable banking and the execution capabilities to work with them to make their core, to open up their core and make it more relevant to today's needs. And I think it's not, at the end of the day, it's not just about, how do you stabilize your backend systems. A lot of it is really about innovation on the front end. A lot of it is about, I've said this about 3 or 4 times already during 14 minutes. It's about letting loose your customer insights and bringing on board relevant partners to do it together.
So Silverlake is poised to benefit from banks' rising investment appetite for tech upgrades.
I would hope so. To me, we want to be the trusted partner in the bank's journey throughout the entire banking journey. I mean, we've been in banking for 30 years. There's no one else who can really say within this region that our customers have always succeeded in their implementations. We are confident in our ability to execute. But a lot of that is resting on our laurels. I think there's room to do so much more. Revenue growth is about pricing customers right when you issue the loans, right? So it's about being able to properly calculate your risk and against your compliance to deliver all the new services that you want.
Well, I understand that Silverlake itself, the company underwent a somewhat transformation in the sense that the company has been trying to increase its proportion of recurring revenue, which gives better earnings visibility versus one-off projects, which are more volatile. And how has that been? Your experience in trying to move, we talked about not just technology, cultural mindset, and it's a very fast-paced industry, what you're doing. So coming from a company that's helping other companies to digitalize, I just want to get your thoughts about your experience in your company.
I would diminish the difficulty of also trying to transform everybody's mindset from the way we did things in a way pre-pandemic to the way things are shifting right now. It's a little bit like doing an open heart surgery while flying on a plane and parachuting at the same time. There are a lot of moving parts that you have to get together. And I'd say not just for us, but also for our customers, success depends on getting everybody's buy-in and really believing in what we do has the right outcome for where you want to go in the future.
And how are you positioning the company, Silverlake, for the future of banking and with the emergence of more digital banks?
I'd say there's about there's more than 2 things, but 2 big things that we're focusing on is, number 1, broadening our industry capabilities beyond just core banking and beyond just banking in general. We have our subsidiary called Fermion, which is an insurtech player. Right. And Fermion is a kind of a digital insurance end-to-end provider. And something that Fermion is trying to do is also applicable to us in terms of the banking space. So within the insurance industry, one of the challenges that they faced during the pandemic was, instead of having agents going out and being able to meet customers and sell policies, that went away. So then how do you engage your customer and how do you make that new policy sale, right? So now the distributorship for insurance companies are becoming more and more online. And so insurance companies have to build, in a way, relationships with different types of distributors. Maybe insurance company A has to work with a car dealership to sell, increase, car insurance sales. And so it's about having an ecosystem whereby your network effect grows with each additional connection that you make. And I'm not sure if that makes sense, but if we sit here as a tech player and all we ever do is provide our customer, this is a piece of technology, have fun, it's not convincing and it doesn't help our customer grow, right? It's about telling our customer, here is technology that can help you build a relationship with this ecosystem over there and this other ecosystem over there. And by working together, all of a sudden you have, say, travel insurance partnered with halal certification notification when you travel overseas, right? So not only do you have your insurance needs satisfied, but you also have your lifestyle needs satisfied. So it's about connecting all these pieces together.
So would you say that for Silverlake, the growth that you are seeing next is more consumer-facing, insurtech, besides just being providers of the technology to banks?
I'd say that everything goes hand in hand right now. Because of Web 2.0, what those young people call it these days.
Web 3 now. The next,
the next one, right? I'm still in the old one. It's about user-generated content, right? It's about on-demand services, customized services. So there's no more decoupling of here's my customer, here's my customer's end user, and here I am. It has to be a straight line across, or you could say a 360-degree view. So yeah, it's about, so that was the second part of our next focus, which I kind of forgot to talk about. It's about bringing technology with our customers and user in mind to our customer in an agile manner, and doing it quickly, because what is hot today will not be hot 1 month down the road. We're kind of fickle users.
We certainly are. Well, thank you so much, Cass, for it's a great chat. I mean, you got me excited about what may come with this world of digital banking licenses. I think more than that, I think just looking at how there's certainly going to be more partnerships in the future in the in this space, that the tech space. What is tech space anymore? I mean, it's tech space, it's banking space, it's e-commerce,
right, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Cass, for your time. And yeah, I look forward to more great things from Silverlake. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thanks for talking to me. Have a good one.
You too.